Donald Trump's announcement in 2015 of his presidential run marked the beginning of wall-to-wall coverage of his candidacy by every news outlet. If Trump makes another run in 2024, however, my next guest says we can't cover him like that again. Joining me now is Margaret Sullivan, media critic and author of Newsroom Confidential: Lessons and Worries from an Ink-Stained Life. Margaret, it is great to see you. Welcome to the Sunday Show.
Thanks so much, Jonathan. Thanks for having me.
All right, Margaret, what did the press get wrong in covering Trump as a candidate and then as president?
Well, and I include, all of us in this, I think, we normalized him. We allowed him to spew lies and misinformation by repetition, by taking rallies live, by taking press conferences live, by putting the outrageous statements into headlines and tweets and news alerts. We normalized something that was very abnormal. And we never really learned how not to do that until pretty late in his presidency. So we need to be very, very careful about not normalizing and not equalizing democratically positive candidates with anti-democracy candidates, whether that's in the midterms or with Trump himself.
Mm-hmm. But Margaret, more specific, how do we, and by we, I mean us in the media, how do we do that?
So, it's by putting the public's agenda first, by not putting clicks and outrage and craziness first, but by being very intentional about what we're doing and how our coverage matters. We have to relentlessly give context. We have to explain what we're doing. And we have to be very careful about not magnifying lies and not handing them like our media megaphone to people who are, tearing down the democracy. And that's, extremely important. There's a lot of things in our media ecosystem that push us in the direction of sensationalism and horse race coverage and so on. We need to really think about our role in the democracy at a hinge time in American history.
One of the things you mentioned how it took a little too long for the press corps to get hip to what Donald Trump was doing and to cover him accordingly. But talk about the real conflict that a lot of news side journalists had in having a president who was outright lying, and yet the traditions of the press was to not say directly that the president was lying, even though we knew the president was lying.
That's right. I mean, there was a real hesitancy to even use that word until years into, his administration. And I think that eventually changed. And there was a reason for that. The feeling was, well, we're really not inside the president's head, and we can't say whether he's intentionally, giving these falsehoods and making misstatements. But after the, 10th time of that statement being made, I think we can say that that's a lie. And it's similar with a word like racism or racist. The press tends to tiptoe around that. And it's very important to call things what they are.
Lastly, in your book, Margaret, your book entitled Newsroom Confidential, you write, quote, "The reality-based press should rededicate itself to being pro-democracy." What does that look like in practice?
We have to really think about what we do and how important it is. I mean, our job is to communicate the truth to citizens so that they can go to the polls, so they can be engaged citizens in their communities and in our nation. And if all we're doing is magnifying lies and being stenographers, that is not doing the job. So it's, it calls for a mindset change, and that has to come from the top of news organizations all the way through. I am seeing a lot of positive signs, and I don't think it's enough.